Welcome to Working Dog Radio, broadcasting the bite.
All right, everybody, we want to take a second to talk to you about an amazing sponsor. We have an amazing relationship with RayAllen.com. Ray Allen is a one-stop shop for everything dog, not just working dogs. Everything dog that you need, you can go down there, check them out, RayAllen.com. Awesome people. They got everything you need.
Another one of our favorite partnerships is with a Dog Trail. They've been with us from the start. Great collars, great ball poppers, great GPS tracking, big dog, small dog, bark collars, everything. I got everything that they have at the kennel. We use it every day. Be sure to head them up, dogtrail.com. Listen for the discount code later in the episode.
Hey, guys, it's going to happen. August 16th through the 19th, HITS is coming back. The HITS Canine Conference in Orlando, Florida, August 16th through the 19th. Get on there. It's the biggest, the best. Check it out. HitsCanine.net. HitsCanine.net. Get registered now.
Take the guesswork out of making sure you're feeding your working dog correctly by using Kinetic Dog Food. Hit them up at kineticdogfood.com and look them up on the Instagrams at Kinetic Dog Food. Take all the guesswork out and do it right from the beginning.
We love Horizon Structures. Dude, this stuff is so awesome, man. You can get online. You can talk to them. You could build it you want from mild to wild. They'll come bring it to your place, set it down on your pad, hook up your power, hook up your water, and you can put dogs in it that day. If you don't believe me, check out some guys like Justin Rigney's He's got a great setup there. Ask him. Check him out, horizonstructures.com.
All right, we are back. Working Dog Radio, broadcasting the bites. I am Ted Summers from Tulsa, Oklahoma. With me, as always, from Canton, Ohio, is Eric Stambro. Eric, what's up?
What the fuck is today? Wednesday.
Yeah, exactly.
So I had a kind of a bummer news yesterday. Years ago, when I was still at the police department doing the training, we trained people from all over the area, and we have a department that I trained a dog named Pete for. Pete was a German Shepherd, real nice dog. It's one of those weird things with Pete that, you know how I talk about this a lot with decoys and handlers and stuff. Based on your physiology, the way your body's built and the way that dog's head and mouth are, sometimes their bites hurt some people differently than others. Like it's like, I don't even feel that one. And other people are like, holy shit, this is terrible. Well, Pete was one of those dogs that he had a good bite. But he always bit me right behind the elbow all the time in this little gap. No matter what I did, every single time.
Where your pinky goes numb?
Oh, yeah. And it hurt like hell. So the way his muzzle was, the skinny, just the way it was, and the way my elbow and arm are, he was quite painful all the time. But I like Pete, real noisy dog, sable shepherd, real vocal, real good dude. Nice dog, man, real nice dog. He had a handler who quickly got promoted, so the dog ended up going to another guy named Mike, who ended up becoming a friend and trained with Mike for a long time. And they retired Pete, and then he had to put Pete down yesterday. So the fucking shepherds, man, they get 10 years old, and it just 10 years old becomes a problem with those dogs. And he was almost 11, and Mike saw some behavior changes, and then yesterday something just was off, and he took him in, and riddled with cancer. So anyways, rest in peace there, Pete. You're a good dude, man. I really like that dog a lot. He was a lot of fun. Pretty high drive shepherd. So I talked to Mike a little bit ago. It was one of those inevitable things. He knew it was coming, type deals. But he got to retire. He was retired for a while because Mike's got another dog that they bought for me after I retired, and real nice dog named Diesel. So plugging away, man. It's nice. I have, sticking to my thing, I have no dogs in the kennel.
No. Must be
so
nice.
Not having to go there. Before I left for Aruba, I just got back from vacation in Aruba. Before I left, I turned over the last couple pet dogs I was doing. Although I'm getting another one Sunday, another one on Monday. Then I'm not going to make it out of October without getting some working dogs. I have some departments that are looking for dogs to come test. So hit up David at Black Rocks Canine and my other guys out in Europe and start loading back up. But it's going to be a very busy winter. What's going on in Tulsa?
Yeah, I did the exact opposite. I loaded up with pets. I sent a bunch home. I sent a bunch home at like 10, 11, and 12. And then at 1, 2, and 3, all the new dogs showed up. I had enough time to clean the kennels and sterilize them, and then so all of the new ones showed up, and I'm like, oh fuck, I gotta start over. Then when it rains, it pours. Yeah. Then when it rains, it pours, and we got more than 5 departments that are like, I need dogs now, blah 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 blah. So it's become one of those situations where I've scrambled to like hit people up and start filling these orders for single and dual purpose dogs. So the dog I mentioned in the last or the episode before last that got in trouble with heat at a training day, he ended up dying from those injuries. He had massive brain damage and some other stuff. And so the Candler's a good kid. I'm not going to mention where he's from, but he's a good kid. He is self-funded. The department does not want to invest anything now, though. They're gonna meet him in the middle and put heat alarms in the cars. So that doesn't fix the.
Meet him in the middle.
Get
the fuck out of here, man.
Look, there's some other shit going on.
I hope they roast that department, that chief.
I'm not
roast him.
He's a good kid. The other handler's a good kid. That department,
I'm not even asking the name because I'll make an issue out of it. So I don't want to know because I think that chief who refused to buy the heat alarm because he's a cheap motherfucker should be fired, should be run out, retire, get your ass out of law enforcement. Fuck off.
Well, here's my thing. So he's funded, right? And he's footing the bills for all the emergency vet shit, like everything. And my background or whatever else, I was like, so let me get this straight. You own the dog and the department owns the car and the vehicle. And because they refuse to put equipment in the vehicle, your asset died. Right. I mean, your dog died because it was like, so and when I said it, somebody else who I'm not going to mention who's been a guest on the show, looked at me and was like, that's a good point. Like they're like, yeah, that's a really good point. And so I kind of like backed out of the room. I did the whole Homer Simpson thing. I was like, I'm gonna step
into the bushes.
Yeah, I was like, and here we go. And I was like, so anyway, the upside, well, not the upside, the outside, the other part of that is that I'm gonna help that kid get a new dog, and I'm working with one of the other guests that we've had, Don Slavic, USPCA, on getting him another dog, and so awesome. Yeah, hopefully we'll get him a new one. He needs one. He's a good kid, and it's an area that needs one. So other than that, I got pets and police dogs, and now all of a sudden everybody wants fucking police dogs, and all of a sudden also everybody wants pets trained. I got a bulldog today that looks like a kettlebell with like legs.
Nice.
And
do some swings with him.
His name is Chunk.
Dude, I gotta tell you, people that have bulldogs usually have pretty legit names.
When
good names with those.
When the owner dropped him off, she said it, and I looked at her, and she said it again, and I didn't say anything. And I'm like, okay. And I was like, I'm gonna label his food, so it's C that I stopped, and she was like H, and I was like, okay, and I stopped, and she's like, oh, so I made her spell it out. I'm like, okay, I didn't mishear that. All right, that's okay. Chunk. Fair enough. He's cool. He barks a lot. He's an asshole.
We have a pitty that comes to daycare. He's the biggest dog, and his name is Chulo, and everyone loves that dog. He looks like Chulo when you see it. If I could speak Spanish, I'd have all kinds of nicknames. Yeah, right.
Yeah. Exactly.
Bark.
Yeah.
You guys got to go to YouTube to see what the fuck we're talking about. So real quick, when is the fiscal year start for departments in Oklahoma?
It depends.
End, I should say.
We're not here. They're not like, it's not a state thing like it is in Florida and some of the other places. So a lot of times it's October to October, December, and then a lot of times I've seen it January 1. Like, so it like really depends on it depends on the individual department. So
because I think the military goes October to October, I think, and the federal government, as we're seeing. So I think a lot of departments just stick with that, based off of that.
Well, we have a special operations unit from the military that's coming to the wants to come to the HRD in South Carolina. and we have to wait for 3 more days to invoice them.
Yeah.
Because we're recording this like 2 days or 3 days. I don't know what day it is, but it's like 2 or 3 days before October 1st. And we got to wait till October 1st before we can invoice them because they've already used up the training budget for the year. So
I think my old department was later in the year. I think we're a little bit more into December.
Yeah. Well, and it's pretty par for the course. This is when police dog sales in Oklahoma, well, in this part of the country, like ramp up because everybody's budget starts renewing. Summer is like
everywhere. Summer seems to fall. Yeah.
So, well, and then back to school and all the other bullshit. So, but when it comes around, and I know them dudes, like I know those admins sit on their hands. They start planning in late spring, and they're like, "Oh, in September we're gonna buy a dog." And then they send you an email like 3 days before their thing, and they're like, "We need a dog next week." And I'm like, "Hey, how long have you known about this?" And they're like, "Oh, for 20 years." And I'm like, "Okay, well, like you can give me a little more. Yeah. You can give me a little more heads up. You know that, right?" And so that, and inevitably, like my inbox was filled the other day, and I'm like, "Yeah, it's getting close to when the budgets are resetting." So I can tell, and it happens every year. So. Faux show. So, what do we got going on tonight?
Oh, so tonight we haven't had a real good interview with a female handler in a long time. It's been a minute. We talked about it. We needed to rectify that, and we're looking around for actual people that are currently handling. Not that any of our guests before that weren't handlers were an issue. They were all awesome. We love all our guests, but we wanted to get somebody who is currently doing the work down in the United States right now. So we brought on a lady who is, I think we have some mutual friends that have done some training with her, or at least I do. And then we, of course, like anything, met, quote unquote, through Instagram and became, quote unquote, friends. It's crazy how you can still have all these people that you know and friends and probably never meet them. Or if you do, It's like, "Hey, how you been?" Yeah, we've actually never met. So coming to us from Raleigh PD in North Carolina is Michelle Lyman. Michelle, how are you?
I'm well. How are you guys doing?
Awesome, man. Thanks for coming in. We had a little technical problem with my computer. I was effed up from the travel to Aruba, I think. Because Brian, our sound guy, was like, "Hey, is this the first time you plugged it in since vacation?" I'm like, "Yeah, is that a problem?" He's like, "Could be." And turned out it erased like all my timestamps. I fixed that, and the usual unplug, smack it. You got to, hit things. And here we are.
Alicia literally just sent you a text. I was like, "Can we buy you an Apple?"
Yeah. 100% you can. I like Apple. I have Apple everything else.
He's like,
this computer is the original one you guys got me, though. Original Working Dog Radio. I think it might have been yours first. And then your younger brother, I gave me.
There we go. No, I tell you what. So everybody listening, I'm just gonna buy Eric like a fucking iMac or like the other one. So I'll let Alicia figure it out. It's not my problem.
Yeah, great. I'll take it. This thing's we've used this so much. It's definitely, it's definitely kicking the bucket. But anyways, we're supposed to start like 40 minutes ago. So I appreciate, Michelle, you sticking around. So welcome. And let's talk. We usually have everybody kind of go through their background. I know you are a Midwest kid that relocated like a lot of people down to that whole triangle area down there in North Carolina. By the way, for those of you who are wondering, North Carolina is not the South anymore. Just so you guys all know, you go around there, it's coffee shops and yins and used guys and a lot of that shit. So anyways, talk about your background and kind of what led you up into canine. We'll get into your up and down canine situation and career that you've had. It's been quite a roller coaster.
Sure, absolutely. Yes, this is definitely a state of transplants. I'll agree with you. Not many people you meet are actually from North Carolina, so it's pretty interesting. Originally from Kansas City, I went to college at Drake University up in Iowa, played athletics, which brought me out to the East Coast through basketball. And I just liked this state, had the mountains, the beach in all 4 seasons. I thought, what a cool state to live in. So I moved out here after college with all intentions to go back home, and then fell into law enforcement. I'm not from a law enforcement family, don't have a law enforcement background. And through sports, just meeting people out here on a co-ed slow pitch softball team, the coach was a retired officer and his wife was a current officer at the time. And he suggested it to me and said, "Hey, have you ever thought about law enforcement? I think you have the right disposition and personality for it. It's a pretty cool job. You should check it out." And I was right out of college, hadn't really landed my full-time career, if you will. And I was open to it. He made it sound appealing. So he offered to introduce me to a recruiter. I was willing, went, and the rest is kind of history. So in 2004, I got the job. I applied, got the job, and started the police academy here in Raleigh.
Cool. Now, what were you studying in college?
So I got my bachelor's in business administration and was hoping to actually go into coaching and do something in the sports world. Originally, before college and when I entered, I wanted to be a vet. And then I've always had a love for animals, especially dogs, and then found out how much schooling it was and just wasn't really appealing. I wanted to get in and out of school, was ready to get into the real world, surprisingly enough, and get a job instead of going to school for almost 10 years or whatever it was back then. So I kind of opted out, changed directions last minute, focused on playing sports and having fun, and just kind of landed in this career.
Veterinarian is every girl's dream. Every little girl wants to be a vet, and not too many make it to that point. They're just like, yeah, no, thanks.
Well, unless you have 3 girls, I do, and 2 of them want to be canine officers, and I'm trying to lead them a different direction. Maybe, I don't know. Law enforcement's changed a little bit since I started.
That's cool. So, tell people who don't know, especially it would be a lot of people from anywhere but the Eastern time zone that really don't know what Raleigh's about. Tell them kind of that whole area, what you're looking at, what it consists of, what the industry is, and all that stuff.
Sure. So Raleigh's known for the Research Triangle. It's just, it's literally a triangle of Raleigh, Durham, the airport area. We've got some smaller cities around: Cary, Morrisville, Knightdale, Wake Forest. So it all kinds of makes up this metropolitan area that feeds into Raleigh. A lot of medicine background. It's known as the Research Triangle. So there's a lot of medical research done here. A lot of really big industries, a lot of draw for people to move here. It's reasonable to buy a house here. So you can get a decent amount of land and a decent size house for a pretty reasonable amount of money in comparison to some other metropolitan areas. So that's a big draw for people. A lot of business opportunities. I wouldn't really say a big downtown. I'm from Kansas City, so it's all relative to what you're used to. But it is a decent downtown. It's growing. It's evolving. They've done a lot of improvements even in the last decade and a half that I've been here. So, and then there are a ton of colleges around. There's NC State, Duke, and UNC, which is a big draw, and then some other smaller colleges as well. So it's kind of an eclectic mix of a lot of different people in walks of life.
Do you have you ever met other people from Kansas that come down there?
I have. There's several in the department that are from Kansas.
Nice.
And then I run into an occasional Jayhawks or Chiefs fan. So yeah, absolutely.
Nice. One of my daughter's best friends they live 2 doors down, and the mother, her parents are massive Chiefs fans. Like they live in Kansas City, come here for the summer because we live at the lake. They got a house over here at the lake, and so it's pretty cool to talk to them about it. They're awesome people. My favorite story of those two is when they drive here or back, they have a whole series of Dairy Queens.
Nice.
The entire route is based off of Dairy Queens. It's the best thing. It's the funniest story. They're great people. So you get down there. You probably didn't know much. I know I had relatives that lived in Charlotte, outside of Charlotte forever. And every year, 2-3 times a year, I'd go down 77. You get to, what is that, 40 or whatever it is, you turn off 40, you see the Raleigh sign. I'm like, I should probably go there sometime. Won't power on down past it. Did you have to do research of the place?
No. So we played in the Sweet 16 in basketball out here. And so that brought me to
you guys were really good.
Specific area. And then I had a friend of a friend that I went to college with that was a grad assistant. It's funny. It's all networking, right? And just meeting people. And they had a friend that lived out here and said, "Hey, do you want me to hook you up with a decent area and, at least an apartment complex to start?" So I said, "Yeah, why not? I'd rather have a recommendation than just blindly go in, living somewhere and not know anything about it." And then I had a high school friend of mine that her parents relocated when she went to college. And so she didn't really have a home per se. She didn't want to go back to the Kansas City area because that's where she grew up, but she didn't want to go to Chicago because that's where her parents moved. So she said, "Oh, I'll come with you. You need a roommate?" And I said, "Absolutely." So she's now married to a police officer here, coincidentally enough, and I became a police officer. And we're both still here with no intentions of staying. So
were you a matchmaker there? Did you introduce him?
No, we just went. I wasn't even in the department yet, and we met him together, and they hit it off. So it just kind of happened, worked out like that. But pretty cool the way it did.
Yeah, that is really cool. So you get on in 2004, right?
Yes, sir.
So when you get on, okay, I get on my department in 96. Just prior to my getting on, our department had 12 dogs. Then when I get on, they were down to three or four maybe. And then we went to 9, and then we were at 6, and then we're at 7 and 8 and 6 and 7, all this stuff. What did it look like when you got on there, and what was kind of your first impression?
I can't tell you. I don't recall the exact number when I joined the department. I know that we got a chief, and I can't remember the exact year, from New York that came down here and brought a whole lot of different ideas to this southern city. And she was very pro canine. So she beefed up our canine unit. We had dogs in specialty units, not just supporting patrol. And I think at one time, the largest we had was 12 handlers, somewhere between 12 and 15. I'm not 100% sure about that. But multiple people working 2 dogs, which is, I don't know if that's common where you guys are. There's 5 of us on our current unit that have 2 dogs. So there's multiple outlooks on that. Obviously, the department's getting more for less by us utilizing 2 dogs. But those of us that do love it, I wouldn't recommend it for a new handler at all. It's a lot of work, a lot of documentation. It could be overwhelming. I could see someone sinking, having that responsibility and still trying to find the right way to go. And,
I think
right
that's
into
a
the
New
leash.
York thing. I think I've met some folks outside of Buffalo that do that.
West Coast departments do that too. There's some West Coast places, like in the Western states, that do.
Yeah.
I'm not going to mention who because they get all testy about it, but there's some places that do. And
I've met a couple. My entire time at training as a handler and then the head trainer, I don't know how many dogs I trained there, quite a bit. There was one guy. He came from a department. He had a dual purpose patrol narc shepherd. He got a Malinois to be a dual purpose patrol explosives. And that was a total shit show, dude. They split his kennel and they built it, and they left this weird gap of about 3 inches. And the Mal was little. And the Mal would get his face through the gap and bite the fuck out of the shepherd in the other kennel all the time, like light him up, rip his ear. And I'm like, what the? It was total pandemonium in that dude's car, man. It was insanity. And he did that for quite a while. Then they ended up shutting down the entire canine unit program, everything in his department. So it was crazy. Real quick, at training in class, he got promoted and told him that you will be on midnights when you get back and in charge of the jail. They had a bullshit little day holding jail, or maybe a 48-hour jail. I'm like, how's that work? And he goes, oh, and by the way, we have a state inspection in like 2 months. So when you get back from school, you're never working your dog. So it was a disaster. Absolutely.
Holy fuck, man. I know it's popular in Europe. Like they're like not super big on dual purpose dogs. Like if they track, they track. If they find drugs, they find drugs. If they bite people, they bite people. If they're
a lot of singles. Yeah.
Yeah. And like a lot of times, and a lot of those dogs will have multiple handlers. Like you'll have handlers and the dogs like live at big, large kennels. And, the handlers are going and grab like their dog or whatever. And the dog, but Our certification process in the United States, whether it be national or state, does not allow that. Like, we certify as teams. And that's another topic that is like, I can't imagine running 2 dogs at a time, having to maintain 2 certifications, national and fucking state. If you have state both, I'm like, God damn it. Like, oh man, that would suck. And,
I think I would guess, and I don't know this for a fact, I'm just an assumption that a lot of this stuff where people really are like, shit, we really need a bomb dog added into the mix was after 9/11 or shortly after 9/11. People kind of figured it out. Because when I got on the unit in 2005, Canton had no bomb dogs. So Chris Heslop, who came into the class with me, who's now the head trainer there, him and another guy, Terry, got the first 2 bomb dogs at the city. And now it's a staple. They're actually adding another one because we have the Football Hall of Fame, and then we do a lot with presidential stuff, the First Ladies Libraries in Canton. So, but they've thankfully have kept doing the dual purpose role, you know. Raleigh.
I've never worked for another agency, but the radio is constant. We have 3 primary dispatch channels for, we have 6 districts, and each channel feeds 2 districts. So that changed a few years ago. We used to all have 1, and the call volume was too great that they had to split it up.
I would scream and yell at the radio because you could never get in.
Right.
I would just be like, shut the fuck up.
Well,
nobody cares you went to lunch. Shut up.
Right. And it's Murphy's Law. As soon as one priority call went out, something else did. And so they were it was a mess. It was needed. And it's definitely slowed down once COVID hit. I would say even a little post Ferguson, it slowed down a little bit. The next generation just changed. The next generation of cops changed. Since that, I think people were a little more gun shy. People were sitting on the sidelines a little more, but there was still that, that prior generation that were still cops to go out and put bad people in jail. And so they were still hunting. So thankfully there's still a little bit of that left. But it's busy. I mean, when I first started, well, I don't want to jump the gun, but when I first started my first shift on Canine, the guy I was paired up with had been riding solo for so long because we were short while people were on training. So he's like, I'm taking off. I've been solo forever. So good luck. You've got it. So I ran 6 tracks that night. I went from call to call to call and humping. I was like, this is awesome. We definitely get work. The dogs are not just certification trial dogs. They put in a lot of work, get a lot of mileage, and are utilized quite a bit. Call volume is heavy. We're short right now, just probably like any other agency. So the patrol is really thin, which has affected their proactive time because they're just a slave to the radio, just knocking out these calls back to back to back. So
yeah, we
are busy, but it's relative. I don't know what to compare it to.
My old agency, the canine guys are about 25 calls a shift. So most of those are canine. We're lucky Canton doesn't have to do, canine guys don't handle report calls and they don't handle accidents. So a lot of places our size or bigger are kind of like that. I always really hate it when I see canine guys having to do, crash reports and stuff like that. But so something you said about being shorthanded. When I tested for Canton, there was 800 people. I'm told they just gave a test recently that there's 12. Are you guys seeing that drastic of a drop down there?
For applicants?
Yes.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, you struggle with that, man. It used to be something everybody. It's funny you say that the next generation of cops have changed, but the generation of criminals have not.
Right.
And they've
absolutely
gotten worse.
They've gotten better. Like they've leveled up for sure.
So Ted, where you're at in Oklahoma, are they bitching? The guys complaining? Are they shorthanded? Is it a thing over there too?
It's a perpetual thing here. So Oklahoma is a unique animal in terms of like public funding for anything. Kind of the political structure in Oklahoma is a shit show, and they don't spend money on anything worthwhile. So like healthcare and schools and law enforcement is perpetually underfunded. TPD and Oklahoma City PD are obviously the two largest agencies in the state. The third is Oklahoma Highway Patrol, and they are, I mean, a couple of years ago they were hit with the 50-mile-a-day like they can only
Restriction or
drive,
something?
fucking trooper can only drive 50 mile a day. I'm like, what? Where the fuck are they going to go? Like, what are they going to do? Right. I mean, there was like a whole thing about that, right? During the whole defunding thing, one of the 9 cities that actually like stepped up to defund their police department, it was one of them was in Oklahoma, is Norman PD. Norman, the city of Norman, not the police department. The police department is great there, but it's where University of Oklahoma is. I think they've regretted that decision, shockingly. And but at the same time, like TPD increased theirs like 800 grand. I mean, it was, and on top of that, we have just raised salaries for police officers here by not an insignificant amount, and then firefighters recently. I mean, within the last like 6 weeks. So TPD also is one of the last departments, I think, in the country that requires a college degree, and they do not substitute military service. But you have got to have a 4-year degree to
Really?
even apply.
Wow.
Yeah, and
That's
because
tough.
of that,
Yeah.
they are very, very, and TPD's large, like really big, and most of the officers are very, very professional, very well trained. Like, I mean, you have a very, but yeah, I mean, still to this day, like if you want to apply to TPD, you got to have a 4-year degree.
Damn, that's crazy,
And-
man. That's
well,
the thing.
but
Your wife,
no, it's not. I mean, look at it now. Like everybody's getting out of college now. They got nothing to do. Like, go be a cop.
but
I
all
mean,
those
you're not gonna work
GWAC
for
guys,
Google.
for all
Yeah,
those years,
exactly.
all them dudes with combat experience, everything, you're out, dude.
Yeah, I know. That sucks. And we have
Same
quite a
place
few of
that
them here.
don't allow tattoos. You know, guys are coming
They've
back.
relaxed that shit too. Like I have a buddy of mine that I've known for years that just got on, and he's like, I want to go catch bad guys, and I'm like, do your fucking penance and then go talk to the. I gave him the names of the guys, and I'm like, go talk to them. Tell him you want to do this, that, and the other, and he's covered in fucking tattoos, like not on his hands or his face or his neck, obviously, but he's covered in tattoos, and I mean, but they don't care. They relax. Same thing with the sheriff's department here. Sheriff's department here, though, I mean, he's kind of like it's one of the 50 largest sheriff's departments in the country, and still they're still hiring, and everybody's like,
Mm-hmm.
So, and the access requirements are there, and state agencies too, like state agencies that are hiring, state law enforcement agencies are still hiring too, and they're still. I mean,
yeah, everybody's trying to hire.
Yeah,
nobody's got
I
anybody
mean,
applying.
Well, that's the thing. Like people are like, I have a college degree, I can't be a cop. I'm like, go work for TPD. They pay, and they do pay well. I mean, I want to say their start before they give the raise, like, was while you're in the fucking academy, was like 56,000 or something. I mean, was
pretty good.
I mean, for living in
For a
Oklahoma
start?
is
Yeah.
like while you're in the academy. And that was the last time I looked at it. But I mean, it's a significant. I mean, it's if you live here, I mean, and it's a great department to work for everything that I've heard. And I know several dudes that work there, and everybody seems to be, for the most part, pretty happy. So, I mean, but yeah, it's definitely a problem. Like nobody wants to work, and if they do, they definitely don't want to be a cop.
Yeah,
So,
for sure.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
you're on there, you're doing your thing, you're seeing canine, you want to, it becomes an interest to you. What is the application for canine process, testing process? What's it look like at Raleigh?
You have to be here 4 years. Then you apply, submit a memo of interest, captain's recommendation at the time. That basically goes off your work ethic, reputation, such, if you're recommended or not, or highly recommended. And then there's an oral board. There's a house check just to ensure that you have the property and space to put a kennel, and the dog can't live in an apartment. You have to have a house. Doesn't necessarily have to be fenced because the city provides kennels. But obviously that's a bonus. And then when it comes down to it, back in the day, they would run numbers to see who's a proactive officer that's out there doing stuff, not having to be monitored, just self-motivated. And then you get on a list that at the time was alphabetized. So you didn't know where you fell until the selection came up. So it used to be chronological, where you knew, like, I was the next person up. That changed when the Chiefs changed. I don't know the exact reasons. The thought process behind it was so people don't just sit and coast when they know they're coming up for something. They have to still stay motivated and continue to do the job, or they might be passed over. So mine was not ranked. It was alphabetized, and I got selected in 2010. So I had been a patrol officer for 6 years, done some field training for probably 4 of those. Honestly, I became a field training officer a lot earlier than I cared to. I was voluntold. And which was good experience. It definitely wasn't my favorite. I like to go and do, and it was hard to be in the passenger seat watching someone else, especially when they didn't want to necessarily go and do. So I was anxious to get my shot on canine, and fortunately got that in 2010.
That's really cool. It's an interesting process. I think 6 years is probably a good amount of time. I think I know guys that have gotten into canine 2 years on the job, 1 year, 3 years, 4. I really do. I think 5 years seems to be that magical number where you don't know everything, of course, about being a cop, but you've seen a lot of shit, man. You're pretty much in it now at this point. So we're going to go ahead and take our first break. When we come back, we're going to get into dogs, your dogs, and kind of how this whole roller coaster of career, a little bit of roller coaster of emotions, and how things went, and Instagram and all kinds of stuff like that. So we will be right back.
HITS Canine Training Conference. This is America's premier canine training seminar, packed to the brim with the world's best instructors and me and Eric, all covering important topics. There's no better place to learn and no better place to network with other handlers, breeders, and trainers. HITS 2022 is being held in Orlando, Florida this year, August 16th through the 19th. And I know how you guys are. Everybody waits at the last minute. And in the post-Rona world, everybody's training budgets are being cut and everybody's deciding whether they're going to be able to get to go or not. So don't wait, because they're not going to have an infinite number of spots, and the price goes up after a certain date. So get signed up as soon as possible. It's in Orlando. We'll see you there. Be sure to hit them up. HITS K9, letter K, number 9.net.
One of the best relationships we have in this podcast and in this industry is with the great people down at Kinetic Dog Food. The story of Kinetic Performance Dog Food is pretty simple. They wanted to make a better premium dog food for the dogs that need it the most. Their goal is to give every working and sporting dog a higher energy level, better performance, and better overall health through superior nutrition. So they formulated a line of food based on what they considered to be the optimal profile of a performance dog. They've done tons of research on this. This isn't their first rodeo. These guys know what they're doing. If you're a kennel, they will come to your kennel. They will see the problems that you have. They will check out what works for the dogs that you have. They're amazing people to work with. They drop ship a pallet right to you if you want. I know a lot of guys that use them. There's a bunch of different formulas on there, and 32K might not be for your dogs. Maybe the 26K works. They can adjust it. They'll give you the right ideas what to do in different parts of the year. Winter's different than summer. It's really a well-run, good dog food company. KineticDogFood.com. Be sure to check them out on social media too, man. They're amazing folks. KineticDogFood.com.
By now, you've probably all heard my story at least once. I'm usually getting tagged by dogs or hurting myself. So this next product is like near and dear to me because I actually use it. Quick Derm by Vet Care. It does great for keeping small things from turning into big ones. I use it at the kennel for clients' dogs that have some issues with skin stuff or have food allergies or have environmental allergies. Works great. Keeps hot spots from making giant hot spots. And it keeps my working dogs, who inevitably find magnificent ways to hurt themselves, from turning it into a giant vet visit. Stops little issues from becoming big ones. So it comes in a spray, it comes in an ointment, it comes in a dressing. It's great for creating a protective barrier and promoting wound healing. You really only have to use it like once a day. So there's no reason not to have it in the vehicle. Since it's temperature stable, you don't got to worry about it getting hot, getting cold, or anything like that. So put it in your first aid kit or put it in your cabinet. Vetcare.us on the internet. Quick Derm by Vet Care on on Instagram and on Facebook, and then hit them up with the discount code 10WDR for 10% off your first order.
So my entire time that I was a handler or a trainer in law enforcement, the cars at my department, in the departments that I trained, all had American aluminum accessory kennels in the cars. Different cars, man. Dodge Chargers, all Ford models, some Chevys, SUVs, cars, everything. We loved American Aluminum Accessories. It's a great product, a great company. They've been serving canine law enforcement community for over 20 years. If you check out their website, EZ, that's the letter Z, EZWriterOnline.com. They got testimonials. They got videos on how to. They got a list of everything they have. Just today, we made a post on the Working Dog Radio social media showing a dog that survived a really bad crash because of the American Aluminum kennel in the back of the car. Check them out online, guys. EZWriterOnline.com. Just let them do their thing, man. Whatever car you got for your work, your patrol car, get a hold of them, American Aluminum Accessories, and get the best in the business.
Next up comes training courses online from our friends down at Highland Canine Training, Jason and Aaron Perguson. So in the post-Rona world, training budgets have been getting cut. People aren't going to be able to travel, whether it be instructors or they be canine handlers and supervisors going somewhere else for training. So Highland has announced a lot of online training courses. One of those that sticks out to me is their police supervisor canine course. And it's no secret that one of the problems with canine tends to be some of the supervision issues. This course is specifically designed for administrators and covers utilization as well as liability and FLSA issues. The course can be taken at your convenience, and you'll receive a certificate of completion at the end. When you go to Tactical Police Canine Training, that's letter K number 9, training.com, and use the discount code WDR30, you'll get 30% off of that course.
All right, folks, we are back. Working Dog Radio, broadcasting the bite. Our sound guy, Brian, is happy that I didn't yell, "Hey, we're back." Coming back in.
Super excited.
He told us that you guys really ramp it up when you come back. So,
yeah, we do.
Right, of course. So we're with our friend Michelle Lyman from Raleigh PD Canine. We haven't, like I said, we haven't had a female handler on in quite some time, and we're super stoked to have you on again. Thank you for coming on. So you get selected 6 years on, 2010. How does the dog selection process go? Did they already have a dog for you? Did you go with them? Did you learn anything? Because you don't know shit, so you're probably like, what? Just give me a dog. What dog am I taking? Where'd you guys go to get them? How'd that all work?
Right. So at the time, the dogs were directly imported from Europe. So the founder of our unit is also a co-founder of the USPCA, and he assisted in importing dogs directly from Europe. He had contacts over there. So we were told there were 3 of us, two handlers that were already on the unit were getting replacement dogs. And then I was a new handler. And so then we also had 2 others from surrounding agencies that were going through the class with us. We do all in-house training in our agency. So we showed up at his house when the dogs got picked up from Washington, D.C., I believe, Dulles Airport. And they each had their name on the kennels, and they were already decided. So they said, "Michelle, this is your dog, and these 2 are the other handler's dogs." So I went over, met my dog for the first time. They said they were paired based on personalities. He was a beast coming out. I don't know really what that meant, but he was everything that I didn't deserve, because he was a phenomenal dog from day one. He was a handful. He was a lot, but he taught me more than I could put into words from the 9 years that we worked together.
Was he a shepherd?
He was. He was a sable German shepherd, or Malinois trapped in a shepherd's body, as I was commonly told. But yes, he was a shepherd.
So his name was Coda with a T, right? So
yes.
K-O-T-A. Yeah. So he was dual purpose narcotics and patrol. So
correct.
Hey, I didn't realize that you guys had like a co-founder of USPCA. So they come in, and what does the in-house training look like? A lot of people, like, to a lot of departments, that's really foreign. Like, a lot of times they show up at vendors and like the dog is done, and we're like, "Here's the dog," and this is what I do, and I hand him the leash, and I'm like, "Here you go," and he's done. Like I could pass certification a day with him. But so you get this dog out of the kennel, and he's a handful, and you're like, "Oh my God." So what were the first couple of days like?
So he's 80 pounds, 11 months old, and wide slam open. So I don't have much weight on him. I'm 130 pounds myself.
Man.
So he didn't know how to sit. He was as tall as me when he stood up, and he was a beast. And he took everything very seriously. So I wish I could remember more vividly the first few days. I remember chunks. Maybe that's a good thing. But he was a lot of dog, and he was everything I hoped for. I had to apply the brakes. I never had to push on the gas with him. He was pedal to the metal when he came out. Every time he was ready to go. And thankfully he had a lot of natural talent. He was a naturally gifted tracker. He was a hunter of man. And I can honestly say that after now working subsequent dogs. Like, the dog just lived and wanted to hunt. And it was a absolute pleasure and honor to hold his leash. And in retrospect, I appreciate it so much more than in the moment. But yeah, he was everything I hoped for. He was a lot of work. It took us probably 5 years to get a consistent out, because he just enjoyed the bite that much. We somehow got quick fixes prior to certifications every single time. We never failed a certification, and he looked phenomenal, but they were just, every finger and toe was crossed that today is going to be the day that he listens. Until I was introduced to a coworker of mine that came from a different agency that really opened my eyes to the psychological approach to dogs. Because back then, I would say from 2010 to 2021, dog training has evolved a lot, even just in those 11 years, where there was a lot more, you do it because I told you so, or you're punished, versus like, let's have a psychological approach. And I may not be able to physically overpower you, but I'm going to mentally overpower you. And once I learned to speak that language with him, our relationship completely changed. It was never bad, but there was just some tension. He was the dog that if multiple people came to fight, he was going to bring just a little more than everybody had. So I was never going to physically overpower him. And it just, I can't take any credit for it. I was obviously I was his leash holder, but Mike, the individual that brought this philosophy to me, just really opened my eyes and the opportunity of approaching dog training completely different than I was ever taught and exposed to initially.
80 pounds is a large dog, right? And I've seen pictures of him. He's tall. He was a big dog. Did you like that?
So it's funny you asked that. So yes and no. And, it's a very relative question to today, which we'll get to probably later, but that's all I've ever had is a big dog as a patrol dog. And the way I look at it is I'm a small frame female. Upper body is probably my weakness. My strength is mostly in my lower body. So when I'm fighting that 1% guy that doesn't want to go to jail or wants to harm us or kill us, I want a dog that has some ass to him, that has something that brings something to the fight. I don't feel like I can get away with a little pocket rocket that some guys can, because they complement each other. So I like a big dog. As I get older, I'm now over 40 and been doing this 11 years. The smaller dog, not small, but smaller, like the 60, 70 pounds is definitely more appealing and something that I think is just perfect for police work, to be quite honest, because fences are easier. We live and work in a very urban environment. We don't have the luxury of tracks out in big wooded field, open area. We're constantly going in, over, around, through stuff. So it's all I've ever known, but I'm open and anxious to maybe have an opportunity to work a slightly smaller dog, but we've managed. It's never been a hindrance for anything that we've done. So hope that answers your question.
Jed and I ask people that all the time when we're doing work, we're doing grip checks, and they come out and the dog's 90 pounds. We're like, first dog? They're like, yeah. I'm like, yeah, we'll see. Next dog will be a 65-pound male.
Yeah.
When you're chasing people, fences with a dog like that become demoralizing.
Right.
windows. You're like,
That's when you just cut them.
Stop.
You just fucking
stop
fuck
jumping shit. I
One-
gotta throw this dog over.
Right.
the
Thankfully, he
130
was super athletic.
Yeah.
We have that 135-pound Malinois in our training group here, and his handler, and he's probably getting close to retirement. He's starting to slow down a little bit, and he's starting to, like, his hips are starting to creak and stuff, kind of like mine. And but the handler the other day was like, when I get another dog, I love this dog to death, but I need one like half this size. And even half that size is still like 70 pounds. And I'm like, yeah, okay. Yeah, everybody wants to do it until you got to do a track. And where we're at, troopers have a bad habit of letting people run off, or where he's at. And he's constantly tracking. He was like, God damn it. If we have to go over another fence, and he just started carrying like barbed wire snips, and he's like, I knock holes in fence and cut fences. And he's like, I am not letting this dog over. That's
the thing. The dog's athletic, but you're behind him with all your crap on, and they get snagged, and
and Ark is a fucking beast too. He's
massive. It's insane.
Yeah, he's a big kid.
So if I remember right, you worked 9 years with him, correct?
Correct. He retired at 10 years old.
That's a nice long career, man. That's pretty good. What did that career look like?
He was a hunter of man. He was a super successful tracking dog. I've been told, I obviously have only been here 11 years, probably one of the most successful tracking dogs in the department. We've had a few others that I would put up there in that same category. But again, I was just the leash holder that went along for the ride a lot of time. The dog did just some phenomenal work, and he just thoroughly enjoyed it. Like, he enjoyed the hunt. He enjoyed just the task at hand. So that's, I would say, our bread and butter here is tracking. And then a side of narcotics, maybe splashed in with some article searches. We'll do an occasional building search, something like that. But that's where our work is done. And what we're asked for a lot is tracking of fleeing suspects, occasionally missing people and children, but mostly just fleeing suspects.
Was he social dog?
He was social if invited. At work, he was all business, super protective, wouldn't let anyone close to me. If you came to my house and he knew you were invited, he was a lover and would let you pet on him, he's a very vocal dog. So even to this day, I can't tell him goodbye in my uniform. He still growls at me and is angry. He's just got that chip on his shoulder. But if you know him and he knows you, he's super sweet, loving dog. So he's got both sides for sure, but he's definitely carries the chip, which brought me peace and comfort bringing him to work every day, because I knew no matter what we came up against, that he was going to have my back. So it was pretty reassuring.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. What did you so when you were working, my entire time as a canine handler, with the exception of a little bit of the end with my last dog, the drug of choice in Canton was crack. Before the big heroin epidemic started, it was crack. I'm told now it's back. People got sick of dying from heroin. It's back to crack. They call Canton Cracktown. What was the big drug of choice? What were you finding mostly back then?
I'd say crack, cocaine, and weed. It's still illegal here. So, it's pretty much goes along with any other drug that we find almost. We've had an uptick in meth and heroin lately, but that was towards the end of his career and then subsequent since he was retired.
Do they even have crack in Oklahoma? Isn't it all meth, Ted?
Yeah, meth's a state bird.
Yeah.
So, it's kind of a thing here. One of my buddies is a defense attorney here, and represented a guy that was basically Walter White working for the motorcycle gangs.
Mm-hmm.
Had a chemistry degree, and they had bought him a bunch of shit, and he was cooking under a fucking underpass on one of the highway. It's a long story that I don't really want to tell on the air, but it's a legit deal. And we were one of the states that had one of the most shake and bake things until they did the whole meth registry deal. I don't know if you can tell, my sinuses are killing me right now. And I went and bought something the other day, and it's still they ask for your ID.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, it's crazy. I'm like, God damn. I'm like, dude, I just don't want to sneeze. And but yeah, like meth and PCP came back pretty gnarly here.
Really?
Yeah, we don't see a whole lot of crack. One of my handlers a couple of months ago found some coke out in the middle of nowhere. I'm like, what? Where are you? And I was like, where were you? And they were part of looking for somebody. It was part of a task force thing. And so I was like, oh, okay. And they were near a casino.
Follow the trail.
Well, and we have casinos out here
guy.
too, right? So casinos are like magnets for shitheads. And so if you want to arrest somebody, just go to a casino. I'm sure like you don't have to sit for very long. Something's gonna happen. But it's always I have a handler that killed 2 people with a fucking taser. And 2 separate handlers that killed people with tasers, and they were fucking excited delirium on meth and or PCP. But yeah, we don't see a lot of crack that I mean, I think in Tulsa proper they probably do, but for the most part, it's meth, like lots and lots and lots of meth here. Like it's fucking meth town. So not like Billings. When I was up there for HRD, man, like that was sketchy. Like
really?
Billings, Montana. Yeah, they got some meth problems up there. Wow. It is not like Yellowstone on YouTube, on Netflix. It's not like that. Cool town, but you're between 2 Indian reservations up there, and it was like
the dentists are like, what the fuck, man?
What
are we doing?
So, and that was the thing. Like, we don't have a huge heroin problem here, like they do in Florida, or like you guys did, right? So now you went from heroin for a minute. It was a while. Like you guys were putting dead bodies in trailers.
I think the county was a death a week or death a day. It was pretty standard, like everybody was for a while.
You guys were having like 2 or 3 a shift or something ridiculous. Like
some of them, yeah. Some guys. It was really weird. That all stuff started at the end of my time as a handler before I became a full-time trainer. So I didn't really have that much of it. It was still just crack and dealing with crackheads, which is a fun breed of people. So we're what was the decision to retire him?
He had TPLO surgery in I think 2018, if I remember right. It might have been 17. I can't really remember, where he came up lame. And at the time of his surgery, they told me that his other cruciate was partially torn. So at some point, and just in general, that surgery almost always requires the other one at some point to be repaired as well. So I knew it was partially damaged. He started just slowing down physically, not his will or ability or desire. So just to be fair to him, we just knew it was time. So we don't have a certain age. Some departments around here like retire every dog at a certain age. We don't have that.
That's weird. Yeah.
We base it on their ability, their health, and desire, to be quite honest. So all those came together, and everybody told me, you'll know when it's time. And I did. It was apparent. It was definitely bittersweet. It was a hard decision, but I knew it was the right thing for him. And then shortly after he retired his other one, he came up lame on his other one. So I ended up having to have that surgically repaired as well. So he has two really good back legs, but they're unfortunately stiff just because of his age. He's 12 now.
I'm sure it exists, but I don't know that I've ever met anyone who did one surgery and they were cool, right? It always, they'll ask our opinion, hey, I got this dog. It's $5,000 to do. What do you think? I'm like, hey man, it's your dog and your money. Just so you know, the other one's going to go. So
asking for a discount on the other one right now.
Yeah, right. Ahead of time. Yeah.
Do it now. Get
a twofer. And the vet will tell them usually.
Charge me $2,500 like for the other one.
And it's a weird conversation to have, because it's like, for some folks, you have to put a value on that as far as what can they ever afford,
Sure.
Luckily now for police canines, there's so many great organizations that will help out.
Yeah, no kidding.
So the funny thing you're talking about, the desire, is the dogs will go and they're getting older, and they, like us, they struggle, but they can get the adrenaline, they can get that rush, and they can do it. And they pay for it for like days afterwards. My buddy Ryan, who was a handler for a long time, he had wrecked knees, like wrecked. And him and I were on SWAT together for a long time, and we had to do the PT test every year. And Ryan would gut out that mile or mile and a half, whatever the run was, like a champ. I'm like, dude, you can barely walk on a regular basis. You look like you just got off a horse. the way he with his knees would.
I've met
He
him
would make
so-
it, and then he would be off work for about a week afterwards.
Right.
And that's the thing with dogs like that, man. They want.
And slow to get up. Like he was just once the adrenaline dump occurred and he got back home the next day, he was a lot slower to recover towards the end. So that helped the decision as well.
I get it.
Yeah, right.
I definitely get
I'll
it.
second that.
You know, we had a dog named Jethro at our department that was killed, and the FOP made a canine memorial because there's been a couple of them in the county area that have been killed over the years. And the first one from Canton was killed chasing a bad guy, ran across the street, got hit by a car. Jethro goes into a grocery store. He goes one way, Ryan goes the other. Jethro goes around the corner. He gets the odor and goes in. The dude shoots him like 5 times. And it's no different than what you're talking about with your dog. We train that sensibility out of them. We train the look both ways. They don't know to look both ways before we train the danger thing out of them. You can't teach a dog to cut the pie, and get around and take a quick peek around that corner. And you can't train a dog like Coda to not track or to track differently, or to not jump over the little creek after the guy or the wall in the housing project or something like that. And it's such a double-edged sword where, we hate to see them start to wear away like that, but we've done it. I mean, it's what they're there for. So, and I'm sure that was super tough. We've all handlers have been there with the older dogs where, my second dog, Willie, they made me retire him early. It was all about numbers when a dog was available and everything. They retired him at 8, and he still had at least 3 years in him. So that was really tough to watch a dog get retired that was still murking people. Like, he was amazing, not slowing down at all. So when you're working him in those 9 years, what's like the opportunities for bite apprehensions and stuff in Raleigh?
We get them. Yeah,
nice.
The dogs are utilized.
Everybody likes to hear about bites. Everybody.
Yeah, we get them. So when it's necessary, that we have our standards have definitely changed over the years, and it is a requirement that these dogs have the ability to keep people safe and to engage at the end. So if not, they don't survive on our unit, because just the violent criteria of criminals that we're hunting and going after nowadays is more and more prevalent. We're not doing the misdemeanor shoplifting tracks. I mean, we're tracking some high level violent gangbangers and just violent people out there that are hurting others. So yeah, the dogs are expected to finish the job at the end and keep us safe, and they've effectively, thankfully, done that for many years. Well,
I, for one, am thankful for your dog service, for Coda service. That's I love hearing stories. 9 years, man, that's a nice long trip with that dog. It's really good. We've had a couple guys that had real good long time with their dogs. I only got a few years out of each one of mine. So super happy to hear that. All right, we're going to go ahead and take our second break. When we come back, we're going to get into the next dogs, when you got into a double dog situation in your car. And when we come back, more with Michelle Lyman from Raleigh PD. And we'll be right back. All right. We love the Perkinsons down in North Carolina at Highland Canine Training. They are great people, great trainers. They got a good business model. They're awesome folks. We've been with them for a long time. They're also super smart, and they understand that a lot of agencies are struggling to have manpower, so they're not sending people away for training. You guys have been there. You put in, denied, lack of manpower. So they've created an online course section of their website, tacticalpolicecanintraining.com. You get on there under training, the online course. But here's the best thing is they offer a canine supervisor course, which we know a lot of police canine supervisors don't get to go to training. They don't know as much as they should. Right here online, The course discusses topics such as proper selection of dogs and handlers, proper deployment, effective allocation and utilization, as well as liability and the FLSA issues, which we know is where all the legal stuff comes from, interdepartmental. The course can be taken at your convenience, and you will receive a certificate of completion at the end. They're offering an amazing discount, guys. 30% off using the discount code WDR30. It's a no-brainer. If you're a police supervisor and you guys have manpower issues and you can't go, get on tacticalpoliceK9training.com under the training tab. Get on that supervisor's course, man. I'm telling you, it's a smart decision.
Another one of our favorite partnerships with the podcast here is the one and only Dogtra. The Dogtra guys have been producing some amazing tools in the dog training world for a long time. Everything from e-collars, GPS tracking, ball trainers. If it's electric and you use it with a dog, they've probably done it. They're the best. They are revolutionizing the way you communicate with the dog. I use it daily, whether I'm using pets. I use the 200C on most of our pets. Most of my patrol guys will use a 1900 hands-free, 1900S hands-free, and then I use the ball popper pretty much daily with all of our detection dogs for imprinting on our box protocols. So hit them up at Dogtra Official on Instagram and Facebook, and then you've got dogtra.com. And when you go there, if you use the discount code WDR10, they'll give you 10% off a single item over $200. So if you're looking at a 1900S or that Ball Popper Pro or one of those things, it'll knock a substantial chunk off there. So hit them up, doctor.com, WDR10.
So everybody knows that Ted and I not only train police dogs, we train pet dogs, right? We train dogs. So it's why our relationship with Ray Allen Manufacturing is so important. These guys have been doing this so long. They knew and they understand that dogs are dogs, and it's not just working dog people that need things for their dog and dog training. So you go to rayallen.com. They have everything dog related that you need. Anything that when it comes to dogs, pet dogs, your pet, training dogs, police dogs, dogs you're training for other departments, anything you need, rayallen.com. They've got it. You can get on there. So if you're ordering stuff for police dogs and if you have a pet side, you can get it all in one, man. They ship it out. Got a nice big box full of a whole bunch of stuff. There's nothing better than getting a big box of dog training stuff in the mail. They also are great to us, and they offer a discount code Working Dog Radio, all capital letters, Working Dog Radio for 10% off. Check them out, rayallen.com. Great people. Ted and I use them every day.
Super excited to have American Aluminum Accessories on board with us here at the podcast. These guys manufacture a wide variety of products, from high-quality cam locker toolboxes to an extensive line of products designed to meet the ever-changing needs of the law enforcement community. Around 1992, due to the demand for safe and secure transport for a local law enforcement agency's canine unit, they introduced the very first in-vehicle Easy Rider canine container. So it was basically what we now call just our inserts. They have continuously grown and expanded the products, catering to the needs and the wants of their valued customers and high-profile clientele, and catering specifically to law enforcement. Over the years, as the needs have changed for law enforcement, they've evolved and expanded the products to include inmate transport systems, the canine training aids, which I use quite a bit of, canine inserts. Every one of my guys has one of those things. And if you're not even have to be in law enforcement, I have several friends that are civilians that work lots of dogs that have the inserts put into their cars too. So if you got one that fits, you can do it. They also do contraband and animal control systems, just to name a few. So be sure to hit them up. The website is Easy Rider Online. So that's the letter E, the letter Z as in zebra, rideronline.com. If you're looking for them on Instagram and Facebook, it's American Aluminum Accessories. Feel free to hit them up there too.
So our first and oldest sponsor that's been with us from the beginning is Arno out at ALM, out there in Las Vegas area. Arno is a great dude. He makes great stuff for police work and sport work, suits, tugs. I'm telling you right now, his tugs are the best in the business. You can't get any better. Multiple colors. I buy boxes of them from him and give them out to everybody. I've got a bite suit from him. Love it. I've had it for a little over 3 years, and it's holding up like a champ. Ted's got a suit that he's had forever from ALM. We wouldn't go anywhere else, man. We love it. Arno is such a good dude. His ALMK9equipment.com is the website. Get on there. He's got pre-made suits. He can do custom suits based on your measurements. He's got stuff already made up. If you kind of get a kind of generic large size maybe for everybody. The colors he has, man, is really cool. He can put a lot of stuff on those suits. Check him out, almk9equipment.com, and use the discount code WD Radio for 10% off.
Running a kennel is one of those things that I always worry about, is cleanliness and safety of dogs. And it seems like it's an ever-changing issue, being able to house dogs and move things around, everything else. So the guys at Horizon Structure make this as easy as possible. Literally, the only thing you have to do is have water and power hookups, and they deliver it, and you can put dogs in that day. And it comes on a trailer. They just drop it off. You plug it in, put dogs in it, and you're ready to rock. You keep them clean, you keep them safe, you keep them cool in the summer and warm in the wintertime. And it's completely custom. You can go complete mild to wild. I've seen some that were stainless steel all the way from top to bottom on the inside. And then I've seen some for a bulldog breeder that, had smaller gates because those things can't jump. So if you reach out to them, they're sitting there waiting for you to call and help you through the custom design process. They have everything from 2-dog ones up to, I want to say like 18 or 20. It's you can put a lot of dogs, indoor, outdoor runs. So anything you've ever dreamed of, they've got it, or have done it, or can do it. So they've taken all the guesswork out of building it. Everything is pre-done to your specifications, and it's assembled, dropped off, boom, you're ready to rock. Things are amazing. Rigney has one. We've had him on the show a couple of times. Go check out his Instagram, and you can see he's posted it up there before. Go look Horizon up at Horizon Structures, spelled out. On the internet, it's horizonstructures.com, and you're going to look for the link in there that says commercial dog kennels, or give them a call, 888-447-4337. They'd love to talk to you and get you started on the way.
All right, we are back. Working Dog Radio, broadcasting the bite. Hope you listen to all of our sponsors. We have some really great people in there. Check out the discount codes at the bottom of the show notes if you didn't write them down or if you don't know them from the commercials. Again, I've said this numerous times. Please don't ask Ted and I, because we don't know them. We look them up if we're going to use them. I got too much shit going on.
I got iTunes, and I'm like, I screenshot it and send it to people. Here you go.
That's why in your phone it shows you like saved passwords, because I can't remember that shit. Are you kidding me? So we're back with Michelle Lyman from Raleigh PD. Canine Codus Crew, right? Is it with a C or a K? I can't remember. It's not in front of me. With
a K
crew,
in honor of Coda's name.
Coda, and with a K, and Crew with a K. Great Instagram page. Nothing that's going to get anybody in trouble. You're doing very professional. You're really good at it. You got a TikTok or anything like that?
No, I'm not a TikToker. I haven't went down that rabbit hole. I kind of refuse to.
Please stick with that. Can't. Guys are doing TikToks, and you can hear like gun runs going off on the radio. Yeah. Or homicide calls. Any officer can help, and they're like putting wigs on and doing shit. Get the fuck out of here with your TikTok.
No judgment, but it's definitely not my thing.
Yeah. So we're going to retire the dog. We retire the dog. Is it an instant flip to your next one that they had for you? Yeah.
So there's actually, I think, a 2-week overlap where I got a split kennel put in my car because Coda was a single dog. I didn't run 2 dogs when I had him. So I had a 2-week overlap of the next dog coming, getting acclimated, riding, me still utilizing Coda until the class officially started for the second dog.
So the second dog was the add-on, the single purpose dog. You had that before Coda retired?
No, the second dog was Coda's replacement. So it was a dual purpose patrol narcotics dog.
Rocco, correct?
Correct.
Yeah. So you have Rocco for a little bit. You go through training. Rocco didn't cut the mustard though, correct?
Yeah. So he had a kind of interesting background. He was different. He wasn't directly imported. We went and tested him at a vendor. He tested exceptionally well. He was 2.5 years old, which was older than we traditionally get dogs, because once 9/11 occurred, all the dogs got younger because the demand couldn't keep up with the supply. The supply couldn't keep up with the demand. And so this dog was 2.5 or a little over that, but mature. So there's something to be said about a little older dog. He was a little bit more mature. He had a sport background. He was personally owned and then sold back to the breeder, and then sold to the vendor, and then we bought him. So kind of an unusual, exceptional situation. He did well in training. We threw everything at him that we could to cross off all the check marks to make sure that he was going to have what it took in the street. I saw a few red flags a couple times where he should have engaged somebody but didn't, and it was okay just based on the situation, but it was definitely a red flag for me. And then we had a deployment that I guess I could summarize it as it would be any handler's dream, and where he had multiple opportunities to do what he was trained to do, and throughout this deployment, and didn't. So it was probably one of the times I was most thankful for a body camera, because it wasn't my dissertation of what occurred. It was a just hit play and watch it type of thing. But it was probably the worst, most stressful, frustrating day of my career by far.
Yeah, for those of you who have listened to the podcast, I don't know if I think I've gotten into the numbers, but we talk about this a lot at seminars that Ted and I teach at. My first dog, Gina, I worked for 3 years. We had at least 20 failures to engage every single year for 3 years. Oof. 20 or more for 3 years. Probably the most anywhere in the United States, maybe even in anybody's history. 17 people within 3 months of graduating class that I tased that she should have bit. Mm-hmm. And then there were numerous others. So like maybe 25 people the first year that she should have bitten. So I know all about it. And they kept making me work this dog because they didn't want to spend other money. So I'm like, I'm going to get killed. So you guys know I'm going to die with this dog. And they're like, yeah, keep working. And then my second dog came available. He was already on the road, and the handler moved on another position. I took that dog, but they were going to keep making me work her for years and years. So trust me, I get the frustration, and you start out making excuses, for the dog. Why didn't he bite? I don't, whatever. But I know kind of the situation you're talking about. I had numerous of those guys running down the road, like in the middle of the road. That shit doesn't happen that much. It really doesn't. Even though we train like that, it doesn't happen. And I'm sending her, and she's running around him. She would go after him like a bat out of hell, run around looking for a sleeve, whatever it was. It was just super scary and super frustrating. So,
right.
And then it's funny, my third dog, they made me retire Willie, and then I got this other dog, Zeus, because he was free. Is why they made me do it. And they were paying somebody to kennel him. So I get Zeus, and he's a psycho. And again, some red flags during training. Not so much on the failure to engage part, but a little bit of environmental kind of stuff with noise. And we're out on the road. And after I graduated class, I probably, 3 months, I was like, he's got to go, man. Like, he would not go inside buildings anymore because a real loud alarm scared him. And it just, shit like that, man, it just gets so frustrating. And trying to convince people that, oh, you just hate the dog. No, come on, man. It's not that. It's like, this is real life shit. Like, this is super dangerous, this type of stuff.
We have my group has a reputation of having some spicy dogs that don't have any problem. And it didn't used to be that way a long time ago. And I kind of err on the side of the dogs that are a little harder to handle. And so like I've got a couple now that they don't need any convincing to bite anybody. And but then, Michelle, you mentioned at the beginning of the episode, like matching personalities and matching departments. And there's a lot of departments that need gut checks with dogs like that. I'm like, this motherfucker is going to bite somebody. Like, I'm going to do my best to make sure he does not bite. I'm not going to put him in a situation where he's going to bite back up, or he's going to bite somebody else. He's going to bite somebody he's supposed to. But like, when it comes time, like, there's going to get work done. And sometimes like they're a little like apprehensive about that. And I'm like, then you really don't want a dual purpose dog. Like, don't put the handler in that situation. And that's a hard like conversation to have with some admins. And I usually default back to what I always say. I was like, well, you give them cars and guns. What the hell are you worried about? Like, they're not going to kill anybody with a dog. And, if like, and they're like, and so like, I have like the technical conversations about case law and stuff, but I tend to default to some dogs that are a little spicier on, and Eric and I both are a little on that end. So I don't ever have that problem anymore. But believe me, like I've had dogs come to me from agencies that are close and they're like, oh, we've had 4 or 6 or however, pick a number, failures to engage. And I'm like, well, what was the circumstances? And like you said, they send me some body cam and they're like, just hit play and watch. I'm like, oh shit.
Yeah.
And
like basic stuff.
Yeah. And I'm like, God damn. Okay. And some of it's training, some of it's selection, some of it's genetics, some of it's a combination of the, you know, the ones that it's training. I'm like, well, and that's what we see a lot. That's what I see a lot at HRDs is dogs that are well selected and not well trained. So like they have these little like training deficiencies. And I'm like, these can be easily fixed. There's a case, of course, there's going to been a couple where like we were like, this dog is not going.
Yeah, my dog Gino is not going to bite anybody.
Yeah, I'm like, this isn't going to fucking happen. So, and that said, like I've had some dogs come through that I absolutely cannot put with departments because they will fucking bite everybody, including the handler. They try to bite me, and I'm like, I can't sell this. Like, I mean, who's going to handle a dog like that?
Somebody's got to live like that with that dog.
Yeah, no, I mean, if it's a 50-50 shot every time you get the shit out of the car, I'm like, nah. So there has to be like a fine line. There's a definite line for me, but I hear what you're saying. Like that's they gotta do it. Like when it's time, like
right.
Work's gotta get done. So
well, and it was an officer safety issue. It was a violent crime. It had just occurred, and we were
met all the criteria, and son of a bitch. So what you still have? So before he gets washed out early in the pandemic year, is that when you got we're told, hey, by the way, we're getting you a little cute little labby dog?
Yeah. So I can't remember. I feel like it was like 3 months before. It wasn't long that I had both of them. That I got Miss Peppers, a little black lab that is the most well-rounded, phenomenal dog I've ever owned. She is so much fun, and just a blast, honestly. But she's a single-purpose explosive dog. So it worked out because I was 60 days without a patrol dog because imports had shut down. And so I got to focus on just